Have you ever felt like your pain haunts you, like a shadow that never goes away? What if I told you that this shadow isn't here to destroy you, but because it's fallen in love with something inside you that you don't even know yet? Today, we'll unravel the deepest mystery of human existence. The moment when your greatest weakness becomes your greatest strength. But before we dive into this journey that will completely change the way you view suffering, I need you to do something very important. Comment on the number 77 below. This isn't a random number. 77 is the code of divine perception, the symbol that you're ready to see beyond the veil of illusion. Each time someone dials this number, a door opens in the universe, a door that connects pain to your true mission. I know you may be skeptical. After all, how many times have you been promised that pain had a purpose? How many times have you tried to believe that suffering was temporary, only to wake up the next day with the same heaviness in your chest? But what I'm about to reveal here is no longer an empty promise. It's a universal law that's been hidden for centuries, known only to those who dared to look pain in the eye without blinking. It was 3 in the morning when I finally understood. I was lying on the cold floor of my apartment. The tears had already dried, but the emptiness inside me felt like a black hole sucking away all hope. I had lost everything. My dream job, the relationship I swore would last forever, my confidence in my own ability to be loved. The pain wasn't just emotional. It had become physical. Every breath hurt. Every heartbeat was a reminder that I was alive when I didn't want to be. It was then that something extraordinary happened. In the midst of that deafening silence, the pain itself began to speak. Not with words, but with a presence. It was as if it had grown tired of torturing me and decided to reveal its true nature. I'm not here to break you, it whispered into the darkness. I am here because you are too strong to live an ordinary life. I fell in love with the strength you have yet to discover. In that moment, everything I believed about suffering was shattered. Pain was not my enemy. It was a rejected lover, desperate to be understood, eager to reveal the treasures it held. Every trauma, every disappointment, every moment of despair had been in a disguised invitation. An invitation to discover who I truly was when all the masks fell. Are you feeling it now? That shiver down your spine? That feeling that something inside you is awakening? This is no coincidence. You were guided here because the time has come to understand the truth about your pain. It is not a curse. It is an initiation. And today, you will be initiated into the mysteries that transformed ordinary people into immortal legends. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in a tiny cell. The pain of injustice could have created a monster, thirsting for revenge. Instead, she fell in love with her ability to forgive. Kahlo lived with a body shattered by an accident. Physical pain could have silenced her soul. Instead, she fell in love with her need to create beauty from chaos. Vincent van Gogh battled mental demons that drove him mad. Psychological pain could have dimmed her brilliance. Instead, she fell in love with her unique vision of the world and immortalized it in canvases worth millions. Do you see the pattern? Pain didn't destroy these people. She fell in love with something in them that was indestructible. And when that love was recognized, when they stopped running and began dancing with their shadow, works were born that transcended time. The question you need to ask yourself now is not why me. The question is, what did my pain see in me that I still can't see? This is the first secret. Pain is selective. It doesn't choose just anyone. She chooses those who have the ability to transform it into something greater. If you're suffering deeply, it's not because you're weak. It's because you're too strong to live a superficial life. Your soul refuses to accept mediocrity, and pain is the process by which you're being refined toward your true purpose. Keep watching, because in the next chapters, it'll reveal the 3 universal laws that govern the relationship between pain and power. It'll show you exactly how to transform every wound into wisdom, every scar into strength, every tear into fuel for your ascension. But most importantly, it'll teach you how to seduce your own pain, how to make it work for you instead of against you. Get ready. What comes next will change everything. The first universal law about transforming pain is so simple that most people completely ignore it. Pain only has power over you as long as you run from it. The moment you stop and acknowledge it, it transforms. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But there's a reason billions of people spend their entire lives running away. Acknowledging pain means admitting it exists, and admitting it exists means feeling its full weight. That's why we prefer numbing it. Alcohol, drugs, toxic relationships, overwork, social media, anything to avoid looking the monster in the eye. But here is the paradox no one tells you. The more you run, the stronger the pain becomes. It's like an ignored child screaming louder and louder for attention. Pain you don't acknowledge doesn't go away. It burrows into your subconscious and begins to control your life in ways you don't even realize. That unexplained irritation in traffic, it's unprocessed pain. That fear of surrendering to a relationship, it's unacknowledged pain. That chronic procrastination, it's your mind trying to avoid situations that might trigger old pain. Let me tell you about the day I found out. I was 28 and had just received the news that my father had terminal cancer. 6 months to live, the doctors said. My first instinct was to go into action mode. Research alternative treatments. Schedule appointments with other specialists. Anything but face the reality that I was going to lose the person I loved most in the world. For weeks, I kept myself busy. But one night, alone in the hospital while he slept, the pain overtook me. It was like being hit by a tsunami. All the sadness I had bottled up came rushing back. I cried like I hadn't cried since I was a child. Sobs that came from the depths of my soul. And then, in the midst of that emotional chaos, something shifted. Instead of trying to stop crying, I gave in completely. It's okay, I said to the pain. You won. I'm here. What do you want to tell me? What happened next was surreal. The pain, which seconds before had felt like a monster devouring my insides, began to soften. It didn't disappear. That would be a lie. But it changed in quality. From a brutal enemy, it transformed into a stern but wise teacher, and she began to show me things All the moments I had wasted with my father because I was too busy. All the loving words I never said. All the hugs I put off until later. But she also showed me beauty. The Sundays spent fishing together. The lame jokes only the two of us found funny. The pride in his eyes when I graduated. The pain wasn't there to destroy me. It was there to teach me about the preciousness of time, about the importance of expressing love while we can, about the fragility and beauty of human life. In the months that followed, instead of running away from the pain, I invited her to breakfast every day. Literally, I would set 2 cups on the table, one for me, one for my pain, and we would talk. I acknowledged his presence, thanked him for the lessons, and then moved on with my day. Do you know what happened? Those last 6 months with my father were the most profound and meaningful of our entire relationship, because the pain had taught me to be present, completely present. This is the power of acknowledgement. When you stop treating pain as an enemy and start treating it as a messenger, everything changes. It didn't come to stay forever. It came to deliver a message, and it only leaves when the message is received. But most of us are so busy running away that we never stop to ask, what is the message? Think of all the people you know who carry anger for decades. An ex who cheated on them 20 years ago. A boss who humiliated them a decade ago. Parents who didn't give them the love they needed as children. This anger is unacknowledged pain, circulating in the system like poison. And the antidote isn't forced forgiveness or toxic positivity. The antidote is genuine acknowledgement. Yes, that hurt. Yes, it was unfair. Yes, I deserved better. When you acknowledge pain in this way, something magical happens. It stops screaming, like a child who finally gets their parents' attention. It calms down, and then, and only then, can it begin to transform. Anger becomes determination. Sadness becomes compassion. Fear becomes wisdom. But none of this happens while you're running away. Now, let me be very clear about something. Acknowledging pain doesn't mean drowning in it. I'm not suggesting you spend all day crying or dwelling on the past. Acknowledgement is different from rumination. Acknowledgement is saying, I see you, I feel you, I accept that you're here. Rumination is getting stuck in a story loop, reliving the trauma over and over. The difference is presence. When you acknowledge pain with full presence, you are in the now, feeling what needs to be felt. When you ruminate, you are in the past, trapped in a story that cannot be changed. One creates transformation, the other creates more suffering. That's why meditation is so powerful for dealing with pain. It teaches us to be present with what is, without judgment, without resistance, just pure awareness. The second law is where the real magic happens. All pain contains within itself the seed of its opposite. The secret is not to eliminate pain, but to transmute its energy. Medieval alchemists spent their lives trying to turn lead into gold. They failed in the literal sense, but they nailed the metaphor. True alchemy doesn't happen in laboratories. It happens in the human soul. And the lead we turn into gold is our own pain. She began to show me things. All the moments I had wasted with my father because I was too busy. All the loving words I never said. All the hugs I put off until later. But she also showed me beauty. The Sundays spent fishing together. The lame jokes only the two of us found funny. The pride in his eyes when I graduated. The pain wasn't there to destroy me. It was there to teach me about the preciousness of time, about the importance of expressing love while we can, about the fragility and beauty of human life. In the months that followed, instead of running away from the pain, I invited her to breakfast every day. Literally, I would set 2 cups on the table, one for me, one for my pain, and we would talk. I acknowledged his presence, thanked him for the lessons, and then moved on with my day. Do you know what happened? Those last 6 months with my father were the most profound and meaningful of our entire relationship, because the pain had taught me to be present, completely present. This is the power of acknowledgement. When you stop treating pain as an enemy and start treating it as a messenger, everything changes. It didn't come to stay forever. It came to deliver a message, and it only leaves when the message is received. But most of us are so busy running away that we never stop to ask, what is the message? Think of all the people you know who carry anger for decades. An ex who cheated on them 20 years ago. A boss who humiliated them a decade ago. Parents who didn't give them the love they needed as children. This anger is unacknowledged pain, circulating in the system like poison. And the antidote isn't forced forgiveness or toxic positivity. The antidote is genuine acknowledgement. Yes, that hurt. Yes, it was unfair. Yes, I deserved better. When you acknowledge pain in this way, something magical happens. It stops screaming, like a child who finally gets their parents' attention. It calms down, and then, and only then, can it begin to transform. Anger becomes determination. Sadness becomes compassion. Fear becomes wisdom. But none of this happens while you're running away. Now, let me be very clear about something. Acknowledging pain doesn't mean drowning in it. I'm not suggesting you spend all day crying or dwelling on the past. Acknowledgement is different from rumination. Acknowledgement is saying, I see you. I feel you. I accept that you're here. Rumination is getting stuck in a story loop, reliving the trauma over and over. The difference is presence. When you acknowledge pain with full presence, you are in the now, feeling what needs to be felt. When you ruminate, you are in the past, trapped in a story that cannot be changed. One creates transformation, the other creates more suffering. That's why meditation is so powerful for dealing with pain. It teaches us to be present with what is, without judgment, without resistance, just pure awareness. The second law is where the real magic happens. All pain contains within itself the seed of its opposite. The secret is not to eliminate pain, but to transmute its energy. Medieval alchemists spent their lives trying to turn lead into gold. They failed in the literal sense, but they nailed the metaphor. True alchemy doesn't happen in laboratories. It happens in the human soul, and the lead we turn into gold is our own pain. It'll be straight with you. This is the part most people can't accept. They want the pain to simply disappear. They want to wake up one day and feel nothing anymore. But this isn't transformation. It's emotional amputation. When you cut off the ability to feel pain, you also cut off the ability to feel joy, love, ecstasy. It's a complete package. You can't choose to feel only the good things. Life doesn't work that way. True mastery isn't in not feeling pain, but in transforming its energy into something useful. Think of pain as electricity. On its own, a bolt of lightning can destroy an entire forest. But when channeled correctly, the same energy that would destroy it can light up a city. Pain works exactly the same way. Raw and unprocessed, it is destructive. But when you learn the art of emotional alchemy, it becomes the most powerful fuel there is. Let me give you a concrete example. I knew a woman named Maria who was sexually abused as a child. For 20 years. She carried that pain like a poisonous secret. She tried everything to forget it. Therapy, medication, moving to a new city. Nothing worked. The pain was always there. A dark presence in every relationship, in every moment of intimacy, until one day, she decided to stop running and start transmuting. Instead of trying to forget the trauma, she decided to use her energy to help other victims. She started small, participating in support groups. Then she began sharing her story publicly. Eventually, she created an NGO that has helped thousands of women. The pain didn't disappear. That would be a lie to say, but its quality changed completely. From a curse, it became her mission. From a weakness, it became her greatest strength. This is emotional alchemy, taking poison and transforming it into medicine. But how do you do this in practice? First, you need to understand that all emotion is energy in motion. The word emotion comes from the Latin emovere, which means to move out. When you feel anger, it's energy wanting to move. When you feel sadness, it's energy wanting to flow. The problem arises when we block this movement, when we dam up the energy for fear of feeling it. The secret of alchemy lies in consciously directing this energy. Anger, for example, is an incredibly powerful energy. You can use it to destroy, fight, attack, hurt, or you can use it to create, set boundaries, fight for justice, make necessary changes. The same energy, two completely different results. The difference lies in awareness and intention. I learned this the hard way. After my father died, I was filled with deep anger. Anger at God for taking him. Anger at the doctors for not saving him. Anger at him for not taking better care of his health. Anger at myself for not doing more. This anger was consuming me from within. I could feel it corroding my soul like acid. That's when I remembered the second law. Instead of repressing the anger or exploding with it, I decided to channel it. I used all that furious energy to create a cancer prevention awareness project. Every ounce of anger was transformed into determination. Every moment of fury was converted into hours of work on the project. Within 6 months, the project had reached thousands of people. 3 years later, we received a message from a man saying he had been diagnosed with early-stage cancer because of our campaign. He survived. In that moment, I understood. Anger over my father's death had saved another father's life. This doesn't mean transformation is easy or quick. Emotional alchemy requires practice, patience, and, most importantly, courage. Courage to feel deeply without losing yourself. Courage to keep your heart open when every instinct tells you to close it. Courage to believe that from the heaviest lead can be born the purest gold. A powerful technique I use is what I call alchemical breathing. When a painful emotion arises, instead of running away or drowning in it, I consciously breathe through it. I inhale, acknowledging the pain. Hold it, visualizing the transformation. And exhale, releasing the transmuted energy. It's simple, but not easy. It requires total presence, clear intention, and consistent practice. Another crucial aspect of emotional alchemy is understanding that you are not alone in this process. There's universal intelligence, call it God, the universe, or cosmic consciousness that is always working toward your evolution. When you align with this intelligence through the intention to transmute your pain, invisible forces begin to conspire in your favor. Synchronicities appear. The right people emerge. Opportunities manifest. It's as if the entire universe wants to help someone brave enough to turn poison into medicine. The third law is the hardest to accept, but also the most liberating. Every significant pain in your life is directly connected to your higher purpose. The greater the pain, the greater the purpose it conceals. I know this may sound like cheap self-help talk, but give me a chance to explain why this is a universal truth that has been observed by all spiritual traditions and confirmed by modern science itself. First, we need to understand what purpose is. In not talking about goals or objectives, in talking about that thing that makes your soul sing, that unique contribution that only you can make to the world. Every human being is born with a purpose, but most die without discovering it. Do you know why? Because purpose isn't found in the easy things. It's hidden exactly where you least want to look. In your greatest pain. Think of Oprah Winfrey, sexually abused as a child, pregnant at 14. The baby died shortly after birth. A story of profound pain. But it was precisely this pain that prepared her to become the most influential communicator in the world, helping millions heal their own wounds. The pain wasn't a deviation from her purpose. It was preparation for it. Or consider Stephen King, an alcoholic, addicted to cocaine. He hit rock bottom, but it was through this darkness that he found the emotional depth that would make his books so powerful. He doesn't write about monsters. He writes about the inner demons we all face. His pain became his genius. This is no coincidence. There's a cosmic principle at work here. Life isn't sadistic. It's surgical. Every pain you experience is removing something false to reveal something true. It's shattering the ego to reveal the soul. It's destroying who you thought you were to reveal who you truly are. I discovered my purpose through the worst pain of my life. After my father's death, I fell into a deep depression. It wasn't just sadness. It was an existential void. Everything lost its meaning. Why work? Why love? Why live if we're all going to die? For months, I simply existed, an emotional zombie wandering through life. It was at my lowest point, when I was seriously considering ending it all, that something happened. It wasn't a dramatic vision or a voice from heaven. It was a gentle whisper in my heart. Your pain isn't just yours. Millions are feeling the same right now. What will you do with it? In that moment, I understood that my pain wasn't a personal problem. It was a universal calling. I began writing about my journey. At first, just for myself, trying to make sense of the chaos. But then, I started sharing it online. Messages started pouring in. You described exactly what I'm feeling. Your words saved me today. Finally, someone understands. That's when I realized my purpose wasn't despite my pain. It was because of it. Today, I'm the what? The WZ. Years later, I can clearly see divine design. Every trauma I've experienced has prepared me to help someone with the same trauma. Every wound I've bled has taught me how to heal. Every time I've lost myself, I've learned a new way home. And now, I can be a guide for others lost in the same dark forest. But here's the trick. You don't discover your purpose by thinking about it. You discover it by living through your pain with awareness. It is in the healing process that the mission reveals itself. It is in the act of transforming your own poison into medicine that you discover you are a healer. It is in finding your own light in the darkness that you realize you are a beacon. Modern neuroscience confirms this. Studies show that people who have experienced significant trauma and consciously processed it develop something called post-traumatic growth. They don't just return to their previous level of functioning. They transcend. They develop greater compassion, deeper wisdom, and a clearer purpose. Pain, when processed correctly, is literally an evolutionary upgrade. But there's one crucial detail. It only happens when you embrace pain as part of your journey, not as a detour from it. When you stop asking why me, and start asking what for, everything changes. The victim becomes a hero. The problem becomes a portal. The curse becomes a blessing. Now, this doesn't mean you should seek out pain or glorify it. I'm not telling you to create unnecessary suffering. I'm saying that the pain already in your life, the pain you didn't choose, has a purpose, and that purpose is directly linked to your unique contribution to the world. How do you discover that purpose? Start with these questions. What was the greatest pain of your life? What did you need most at that moment that you didn't have? What did you learn that could help someone in the same situation? The answers to these questions are the coordinates of your purpose. Now we come to the most revolutionary point of this journey. You don't just recognize, transmute, and find purpose in pain. You seduce it. Yes, you read that right. You will learn to make your pain fall so in love with you that it will have no choice but to reveal all its secrets and work in your favor. This may sound absurd, even blasphemous to some, but this is exactly what humanity's greatest masters have done. Seduction is not manipulation. It's the art of creating a relationship so intimate and authentic that the other person cannot resist opening up completely. When you seduce your pain, you are not trying to deceive or control it. You are creating a space of such acceptance and love that it has no choice but to transform. It is like the sun seducing a seed. It does not force. It does not demand. It simply shines with such constancy and warmth that the seed cannot resist blossoming. The first step in seduction is genuine curiosity. Instead of hating your pain, be curious about it. Where does it come from? What does it want? What is it protecting? All pain is a guardian. It is protecting something vulnerable, something precious that has been wounded. When you approach pain with curiosity instead of hostility, it lets its guard down. Let me tell you about the time I seduced my anxiety. For years, I fought it. Medication, therapy, breathing exercises, all to try to eliminate it. But the more I fought, the worse it got. That's when I decided to completely change my approach. Instead of treating anxiety as an enemy, I began treating it as a misunderstood lover. Every morning, I sat in meditation and invited anxiety to talk. Good morning, my dear anxiety. What do you want to show me today? At first, it felt awkward, but little by little, it began to reveal its truths. Anxiety wasn't trying to destroy me. It was trying to protect me from rejection, from failure, from abandonment. It was a frightened child pretending to be a monster. With this understanding, my relationship with anxiety changed completely. Instead of go away, I started saying, thank you for trying to protect me. I understand your fear, but I'm an adult now, and I can take care of myself. You can relax. Do you know what happened? Anxiety, which had previously been a tornado destroying everything, became a gentle breeze, alerting me when something needed attention. The second element of seduction is appreciation. This is the hardest for most people to accept. Appreciating pain? Isn't that masochism? No, it isn't. Appreciation doesn't mean enjoying pain. It means recognizing its value, its role, its contribution to who you've become. Every pain you've survived has made you stronger. Every loss has taught you the value of what you have. Every betrayal has taught you discernment. When you begin to appreciate pain in this way, something magical happens. It stops being aggressive. It's like a stern teacher who finally sees that the student has understood the lesson. The pressure lessens, the intensity softens, and what remains is pure wisdom. The third element is intimacy. You need to become intimate with your pain. Know it so well that you can predict its movements, understand its triggers, anticipate its needs. This requires radical presence. It's not about thinking about the pain. It's about being with it, breathing with it, moving with it. I've developed a practice I call dancing with the shadow. When I feel emotional pain arising, instead of contracting or running away, I literally dance with it. I put on music and let my body express what the pain is feeling. Sometimes it's a furious, chaotic dance. Sometimes it's slow and melancholic. But always, always, at the end of the dance, the pain and I are closer, more aligned, more at peace with each other. The fourth element of seduction is patience. Pain has its own time. You can't rush transformation any more than you can rush the sunrise. Every pain has its cycle, its season, its rhythm. When you respect that time, when you stop demanding that the pain go away on your schedule, it will relax. Grief is grief, ready to transform. I met a man who lost his 5-year-old son in an accident. The pain was unbearable. Everyone told him to get over it. Move on. Time heals all. But he chose a different path. He decided to honor the pain for as long as it needed to stay. He created a ritual. Every day at 5 p.m. The time his son died, he would sit for an hour with the pain. No running away. No rushing. Just pure presence. It took 3 years. 3 years of daily encounters with the deepest pain a father can feel. But at the end of those 3 years, something had changed. The pain was still there, but it had transformed into something sacred. He started a foundation in his son's name that has already saved dozens of lives. The pain that could have destroyed him became his masterpiece. The final element of seduction is the most powerful: unconditional love. When you love your pain unconditionally, without demanding it change, without needing it to go away, something extraordinary happens. It falls in love with you back, and passionate pain is no longer pain. It is pure power, waiting to be directed. On every journey of transformation, there are threshold guardians. They are the forces, both internal and external, that test your resolve to transcend pain. These guardians are not your enemies, though they may seem so. They are the cosmic examiners, ensuring that only those truly ready can access the power that comes from transformed pain. Today, I will reveal who these guardians are and how to get past them. The first guardian is doubt. It appears, whispering, "This is nonsense. Pain is pain. Suffering is suffering. There is no purpose, no transformation, only the cruel indifference of the universe." Doubt is seductive because it cloaks itself in rationality. It uses logic as a weapon, pointing to all the evidence that suffering is meaningless. And it is partially right, if you look only at the surface. But doubt has a secret. It is, in fact, a test of faith. Not necessarily religious faith, but faith in the possibility of transformation. Each time you choose to continue, despite doubt, you strengthen the muscle of trust. And this muscle is essential to emotional alchemy. Without it, you will give up at the first hurdle. How do you move past doubt? Not by fighting it, but by embracing it. Yes, I have doubts. Yes, this might not work. But what if it does? What if, on the other side of this doubt, lies the liberation I've been searching for years? Doubt hates possibilities. It craves certainty. When you embrace uncertainty as part of the journey, doubt loses its power. The second guardian is fear. Specifically, the fear of who you will become without your pain. It seems contradictory, but many of us identify so much with our suffering that we fear who we will be without it. Pain has become our identity. I am a victim of abuse. I am someone who was betrayed. I am the one who lost everything. Who will you be when you're no longer this? This fear is legitimate. Transforming pain means ego death, the death of a version of yourself that, however painful, is familiar. The unknown is always more frightening than the known, even when the known is suffering. This is why so many people choose to remain in pain, not because they like it, but because they fear the emptiness on the other side. I knew a woman who was abandoned by her husband after 20 years of marriage. For 5 years, she lived as the abandoned woman. It was her story, her identity, her excuse for everything that didn't work out. When she finally decided to transform this pain, the fear arose with full force. If I'm no longer the abandoned one, who am I? The answer came through the courage to live the question. She discovered she was an artist, an adventurer, a mentor, identities that had been dormant under the weight of pain. The third guardian is shame. This is the most poisonous of all. Shame says, you deserve this pain. You caused it. You're not worthy of transformation. Shame is the guardian that makes many give up before they even begin. It convinces you that your pain is punishment, not a gateway. Shame is particularly cruel because it feeds on secrets. The more you hide your pain, the more power shame has. It thrives in darkness, in silence, in isolation. That's why sharing your story with the right people at the right time is so liberating. It's not about seeking external validation. It's about bringing shame out of the shadows. But be careful. Sharing prematurely or with people who aren't prepared can re-traumatize. The art is in discerning when, how, and with whom to share. Start with yourself. Write your story completely, without censorship, without judgment. Then share it with a therapist or trusted friend. Gradually, as it gains strength, share more widely. Each act of authentic sharing, shame weakens it. The fourth guardian is anger. Specifically, anger at God, the universe, and life for allowing such pain. Why me? Why this? Why now? Anger wants justice. It wants explanations. It wants someone to pay. And again, it's partially right. Some pains are profoundly unfair. Children shouldn't suffer. Innocent people shouldn't be punished. Love shouldn't hurt so much. Anger is a powerful guardian because it has energy. Unlike doubt that paralyzes or fear that contracts, anger wants action. The secret is to redirect that energy. Instead of destructive anger, transform it into creative determination. Use the power of anger to break down barriers, to fight for change, to refuse to accept the unacceptable. Martin Luther King, Yahya, had every right to be furious at the injustice, the oppression, the violence against his people. But he took that legitimate anger and transformed it into a movement of revolutionary love. He didn't deny the anger. He transcended it. Anger became the fuel But love was the engine. The fifth and final guardian is the most subtle. The comfort of pain. Yes, there is comfort in familiar pain. It is predictable and familiar, even comforting in a distorted way. Change means stepping out of your comfort zone, even when that zone is one of suffering. Comfort whispers, at least you know what to expect here. Out there is uncertain. This guardian is defeated only by the courage to take one step at a time into the unknown. It doesn't have to be a dramatic leap. It can be a small, daily step. Each time you choose a different response, a different perspective, a different action. You are saying to comfort, I choose growth over familiarity. There is a moment in every journey of transformation from pain that I call the sacred breaking point. It is the moment when everything you believed about yourself, about life, about reality, shatters. It's terrifying and liberating at the same time. It's death and rebirth happening simultaneously, and it's absolutely necessary for true transformation. Most people do everything they can to avoid this point. They feel it approaching, that feeling that something fundamental is about to change, and they retreat. They fall back into old patterns, toxic relationships, family addictions, anything to avoid the sacred terror of total rupture. But those who dare to cross it discover on the other side a power they never knew existed. My breaking point came 3 years after my father's death. I had done all the work, therapy, meditation, even starting to help others. Outwardly, I was healed, but internally, something was still stuck. It was like a poorly set bone, functional, but crooked. Then, one ordinary evening, doing something mundane like washing dishes, it happened suddenly, without warning. A wave of pain so intense I fell to my knees. It wasn't sadness or anger. It was something more primal. It was the existential pain of being alive, of being conscious, of knowing that everyone we love will die, that everything we've built will turn to dust. It was God's pain. If God can feel pain for hours. I lay on the kitchen floor, crying tears that seemed to come not just from this life, but from all lives. And then, at the height of the agony, when I thought I would literally die of pain, something snapped. It wasn't gradual. It was instantaneous, like a rubber band stretched beyond its limit that suddenly snaps. And in the moment of the rupture, in the exact instant, everything shattered. I saw that pain and love were the same thing seen from different angles. I saw that every tear I cried was sacred. I saw that my father hadn't died. He had expanded into everything. In no saying, I had a mystical experience in the religious sense. It was more fundamental than that. It was a complete reorganization of consciousness. When I got up from the floor, hours later, I was a different person. Not better or worse, just fundamentally different. The pain was still there, but our relationship had changed forever. She was no longer my enemy or even my teacher. She was my sacred twin, my other half, my gateway to the divine. This breaking point cannot be forced or manufactured. It comes when you're ready. even if you don't feel ready. But there are signs that it's approaching. You begin to feel a growing internal pressure, as if something is trying to be born from within you. Old methods of coping with pain stop working. You feel simultaneously empty and overfull. It's like being pregnant with yourself. When the breaking point arrives, and it will if you continue on this journey, don't resist. Let yourself break completely. Don't try to hold the pieces together. Don't try to make sense of what's happening. Just surrender to the process as you would surrender to surgery, the necessary. Trust that on the other side of the rupture lies reconstruction. But here is what no one tells you. After the breaking point, there's a period of emptiness. You are no longer who you were, but you are not yet who you will be. It is an existential limbo that can last days, weeks, even months. During this period, you may feel like you've lost everything: your identity, your purpose, your connection to reality. This is normal. You are in the cosmic womb, being reshaped. During this time, be gentle with yourself. Don't make big decisions. Don't try to explain to others what is happening. They won't understand. Just breathe, rest, allow. Your only job is to not interfere with the process. Like a butterfly in a chrysalis, you are liquefying. Trying to escape too soon would destroy the wings that are forming. I've known people who have gone through the breaking point in different ways. A successful executive who lost everything in the stock market and found his true calling as a teacher at rock bottom. A mother who, after losing a child, discovered the ability to love abandoned children. An artist who, after a stroke, lost the ability to paint with his right hand and discovered a revolutionary style with his left. What they all have in common is this: on the other side of the breaking point, they found not only peace with their pain, but gratitude for it. Not superficial or forced gratitude, but a deep appreciation for the role pain played in their evolution. They understand, at a cellular level, that without that specific pain, they would not have become who they needed to be. After the sacred breaking point, you enter what I call the dance of polarities. This is where true mastery begins. You are no longer fighting the pain or being consumed by it. You are dancing with it. And in this dance, you discover that pain and pleasure, darkness and light, death and life are not opposites. They are cosmic dance partners, each impossible without the other. This understanding changes everything. You stop seeking a life without pain and begin seeking a life of total integration. You understand that trying to eliminate pain is like trying to eliminate the night. You would also lose the stars. Mastery lies not in living only in the day, but in gracefully navigating both day and night. Let me explain how this dance works in practice. Imagine you're going through a significant loss, say, the end of an important relationship. The old approach would be grief, overcome, move on. The new approach, the dance, is completely different. You allow the sadness of the loss and the gratitude for what was experienced to coexist. You don't choose one or the other. You embrace both. It's like holding fire in one hand and ice in the other. At first, it seems impossible. The impulse is to let go of one to protect yourself from the other. But when you learn the dance, you discover that fire and ice balance each other. The heat of the fire prevents the ice from freezing you. The cold of the ice prevents the fire from burning you. Together, they create a perfect temperature, the temperature of full life. Practically, this means you can be deeply sad and deeply grateful at the same time. You can be afraid and courageous simultaneously. You can be lost and exactly where you need to be. This isn't a contradiction. It's wholeness. It's the ability to contain the full spectrum of human experience without having to choose just one note. I've developed a daily practice I call paradoxical breathing. I breathe in pain, exhale love. I breathe in fear, exhale courage. I breathe in death, exhale life. I'm not trying to transform one into the other. Yet I'm recognizing that they are two sides of the same coin, that one contains the other, that they are inseparable. This practice has taught me to be comfortable with paradoxes, to thrive in ambiguity. The dance of polarities also manifests in relationships. When you learn this dance, you stop needing others to be only light. You can love someone completely, including their shadows. More importantly, you can show your own shadows without shame, knowing that they are an integral part of your light. I met a couple who exemplify this perfectly. Both are survivors of severe trauma. Instead of hiding their wounds from each other or trying to be healed to deserve love, they bring everything to the relationship. On bad days, when one is in the shadows, the other doesn't try to fix or save. They simply witness, hold space, and love, including, especially, the broken parts. This doesn't mean accepting abusive or toxic behavior. The dance of polarities requires keen discernment. It's about integrating your own polarities, not about allowing others to project their unprocessed shadows onto you. It's about radical responsibility for your own darkness and light, while having compassion for the journey of others. At the deepest level, the dance of polarities is about reconciliation. With the paradoxical nature of existence, you are infinite and finite, immortal and mortal, divine and human. When you stop trying to resolve these paradoxes and begin to dance with them, a profound peace emerges. Not the peace of the absence of conflict, but the peace of being in harmony with the inherent conflict of existence. This dance also transforms your relationship with time. You stop dividing life into good moments and bad moments. Every moment contains the potential for both. A funeral can have moments of profound laughter. A wedding can have tears of sadness. An achievement can bring melancholy. A loss can bring relief. When you accept this complexity, you stop chasing some moments and running from others. You are present for everything. The dance of polarities is ultimately about spiritual maturity. It is the recognition that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. It is the acceptance that some tensions will never be resolved, and they don't need to be. It is the ability to live fully in uncertainty, paradox, and mystery, and yet or because of it, find meaning, beauty, and purpose. When you master this dance, something extraordinary happens. You become unfazed, not because nothing affects you, but because everything affects you, and you have room for it all. You are like the ocean. The waves on the surface may be stormy, but in the depths, there is always calm. You can feel intensely without being swept away. You can suffer without being destroyed. You can love without being consumed. There's a powerful archetype in all mythologies called the wounded warrior, one who has been to hell, been shattered, and returned not despite the wounds, but because of them. The wounds become the source of power. The scars become maps for others, lost in the same darkness. This is the stage where you are no longer focused solely on your own transformation. You become a beacon for others. But be careful. This is not the time to proclaim yourself a guru or savior. The wounded warrior who returns doesn't come back with absolute answers or magic formulas. They come back with something far more valuable. Living proof that it is possible to go through hell and emerge not only intact, but transformed. Your very existence becomes the message. The return happens in stages. First, there's the urge to share. After years of processing your pain in private, you feel an urge to tell your story, not out of narcissism or a need for attention, but because you know viscerally that your story could be the lifeline someone needs. You remember how you would have given anything to hear someone who had been through what you went through and survived. But here's the catch. Not everyone is ready to listen. Your transformation can threaten those still identified with their wounds. Your light can irritate those comfortable in their shadows. You may be accused of denial, of spiritual bypassing, of insensitivity. This hurts, especially coming from people you want to help. The key is discernment. Not everyone who is suffering wants transformation. Some are passionate about their suffering, and that needs to be respected. Your job isn't to convert anyone, but to be available to those who are ready. Like a lighthouse, you don't chase lost ships. You simply shine, and those who need your light will find it. My return began simply. I began writing social media posts about my journey. No agenda, no expectations, just sharing what I had learned. The responses were polarized. Some accused me of romanticizing pain. Others said my words saved their lives. I quickly learned that I wasn't writing for everyone. I was writing for those specific people who needed to hear it. Over time, the sharing evolved. Lectures, workshops, one-on-one sessions, but always with a clear rule. I didn't have the answers for anyone. I had my answers, and my job was to help others find theirs. The difference is crucial. A guru says, "Follow me." A wounded warrior says, "I've walked this path. Let me show you what I've learned." But your journey is unique. The wounded warrior also faces a unique challenge. The temptation to identify with the role of healer after so much suffering. Being seen as someone who can alleviate the suffering of others is seductively gratifying. But this is another ego trick. You are not the healer. You are the space where healing can happen. You have no power over anyone. You have power with them. I've known many who have fallen into this trap. They've turned their healing journey into a business, which isn't a problem in itself. The problem arises when the business becomes more important than the mission, when the title coach or healer becomes the new identity that replaces the old one. Victimhood. It's exchanging one prison for another. The true wounded warrior maintains humility. They know their transformation is not a final destination, but an ongoing process. They continue to do their own inner work, continue to face new layers of shadow, continue to learn. They teach not from a pedestal, but from the circle. They are not the wise man at the top of the mountain. They are the fellow traveler who happens to know a few shortcuts. Another crucial aspect of recovery is establishing healthy boundaries. When you make yourself visible as someone who has transformed deep pain, you attract people in deep pain. Some genuinely want to learn and grow. Others want you to save them, to carry their pain for them, to do the work that only they can do. Learning the difference and acting accordingly is essential to your own sustainability. I've developed what I call the Wounded Warrior Protocol. Share your story, not your solution. Offer tools, not guarantees. Be a witness, not a savior. Maintain your own healing rituals. Know when to retreat. The return of the wounded warrior is, paradoxically, when you realize you never truly return. You are always on the path, always learning, always transforming. The difference is that now you don't walk alone. You are part of an invisible lineage of all who have transformed poison into medicine, wound into wisdom, pain into purpose. Have you ever wondered why the sun rises after the deepest darkness? Because light doesn't need to fight darkness. It simply exists, and darkness dissolves. Now, we will witness the ultimate alchemy. When your pain, the one that left you crying on the ground, becomes the flame that crowns you. But before I reveal the secret that will change your life forever, comment the word transcendence in the comments. It's the code that activates the frequency of your new reality. If you've made it this far, it's no accident. You are a guardian of the light. And now, let's uncover what happens when pain falls in love with your strength. The story we tell is not about overcoming pain. It's about dancing with it. When you accept your pain as part of you, it stops being an enemy and becomes a silent ally, a guardian that prevents you from falling into the same traps. This is what Mandela, Frida, and Jobs understood. Your pain is not a punishment. It's an invitation to transcend. And when you transcend, pain falls in love, because it sees in you what it never saw in itself. The ability to transform suffering into wisdom. What you are about to witness is the greatest force in the universe. Pain becomes love when you don't surrender to it. Pain tries to break you. You resist with courage. Pain falls in love with your resistance. You transcend with compassion. In this cycle, gods are born. You are no longer a spectator. You are the architect of your divinity. I see you. I see the comments. I see the word transcendence echoing like a collective mantra. This is no coincidence. It is cosmic synchronicity. Therefore, I ask you, comment Transcendence to seal your transformation. Share this video to illuminate those who still hide their pain. Subscribe to receive the code for your next ascension. Each comment is a stepping stone in the bridge between the human and the sacred. And now, the final question that defines your destiny. You can A. Ignore your pain and remain hostage to it. B. Accept your pain and become its master. Transcend your pain and become your own divinity. The choice is yours. But I bear witness that option C is already in your DNA. Because you were not made to suffer. You were made to transform suffering into art. If you have chosen transcendence, know this. Your pain is now your crown of wisdom. Your suffering is your source of compassion. Your weakness was the womb of your power, and the world needs this crown, this compassion, this power. You are not alone. We are all on this journey. May your pain become the greatest blessing you can ever imagine. May your strengths be infinite. Subscribe to the channel for more journeys like this. Until next time.